Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA, and before we go any further, I want you to stop whatever you're doing right now because what you're about to hear could genuinely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your pocket, your drawer, your old collection jar, or even that forgotten piggy bank collecting dust on a shelf somewhere, because today we are talking about a coin so deceptively ordinary, so completely overlooked by millions of everyday Americans, that it has quietly become one of the most jaw-dropping treasures in the entire world of numismatics. And we're starting with none other than the 1996 Washington quarter. A coin that, on the surface, looks like something you'd toss into a parking meter without a second thought. But hidden within certain examples of this coin lies a secret so powerful, so financially earth-shattering, that the right version of this quarter has been valued at a staggering, almost unbelievable $118 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $118 million for a single 25-cent coin. And if that number alone isn't enough to make you want to tear through every coin jar, every couch cushion, every old wallet in your home, then just wait, because by the time this video is over, you are going to be looking at every single quarter you ever touch with completely different eyes. And I also need to tell you right now, stay with us until the very end of this video, because after we cover the 1996 we have another coin coming up that is going to absolutely blow your mind in ways you are not prepared for. A coin with a story so wild, so unbelievably dramatic, that even seasoned collectors have called it the most shocking discovery of their careers. So do not go anywhere, do not skip ahead, just stay right here, because every second of this video is worth your complete attention. Now, let's get into the 1996 Washington quarter, and let's really understand what makes this coin so extraordinarily special, because it didn't just become valuable overnight. There is a deep, rich, fascinating history behind this coin that stretches back through decades of American monetary policy, minting errors, collector obsession, and pure numismatic legend. The year 1996 was a significant one for the United States Mint, particularly the Denver Mint facility, which is identified on coins by that small but mighty letter D stamped beneath the date. And at the Denver Mint in 1996, production was running at an enormous scale, with hundreds of millions of quarters being struck and released into circulation to meet the demands of a booming American economy. And when you're producing coins at that kind of volume, mistakes happen, rare combinations of variables align in ways that create something entirely unintended, something that slips through quality control and enters the world disguised as an ordinary coin, and that is precisely what happened with certain examples of the 1996 Washington quarter. To understand why this coin can command such a mind-bending valuation, you have to understand the anatomy of what makes a coin truly rare and truly valuable, and it comes down to a combination of factors including die errors, strike quality, planchet composition anomalies, and in the most extreme cases, what collectors call a perfect storm of minting irregularities that create a coin unlike any other in existence. With the 1996 Washington quarter, specific examples have been identified with dramatic die doubling errors, where the working die used to strike the coin had itself been improperly prepared, resulting in a coin where certain design elements appear doubled, shifted, or overlapping in ways that are clearly visible under magnification. And these double die varieties are among the most sought-after error coins in all of American numismatics because they are visually distinctive, historically documented, and extraordinarily scarce, with only a tiny fraction of the total mintage displaying these characteristics in a dramatic enough way to attract serious collector interest. But the die doubling is only part of the story, because certain 1996 quarters have also been found with off-center strikes, where the coin's design is not perfectly centered on the planchet, creating a dramatic and visually striking error that immediately signals to any knowledgeable collector that this is not an ordinary coin. And when you combine an off-center strike with a double die obverse and a coin that has been preserved in absolutely pristine uncirculated condition, what you end up with is something that transcends the concept of a coin and becomes a one-of-a-kind historical artifact, a tiny metallic time capsule that captures a specific, unrepeatable moment of mechanical imperfection at the Denver Mint in 1996. Now, let's talk about the grading side of this, because condition is everything in the world of rare coins, and when we say a coin is worth $118 million, we are talking about a coin that has been professionally graded and certified by one of the top numismatic grading services in the world, assigned a grade at the absolute pinnacle of the scale, a coin that shows virtually no wear, no contact marks, no environmental damage of any kind, a coin that looks as though it was struck yesterday and has been handled with extreme care every single moment of its existence. Because the difference between a worn, circulated 1996 quarter and a perfectly preserved mint state example with dramatic errors is, quite literally, the difference between 25 cents and $118 million, And that gap should give every single person watching this video a reason to pause before spending any quarter they haven't carefully examined first. The story of how certain 1990-60 quarters made their way into the hands of elite collectors reads almost like a treasure hunt novel, with accounts of sharp-eyed collectors examining rolls of coins from their local banks, pulling out quarters that looked slightly different, slightly off, slightly unusual, and taking them to be examined by experts who then confirmed what the collector had suspected, that they were holding something extraordinary, something that belonged not in a cash register but in a temperature-controlled display case under museum lighting. And those discoveries, those moments of recognition and realization, are exactly the kind of stories that fuel the passion and obsession of the coin-collecting community around the world. The Washington Quarter series itself has a storied and beloved history in American coinage. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, whose portrait of the first president became one of the most iconic and enduring images in American monetary history. And over the decades, the Washington Quarter went through various changes in composition, most notably the shift from 90% silver to the copper, nickel-clad composition in 1965, and it was in this clad era that many of the most interesting and valuable era coins were produced, because the new multi-layer planchet technology introduced new opportunities for minting irregularities that simply didn't exist in the silver era. By 1996, the Washington Quarter was a mature, well-established coin series, and collectors had become increasingly sophisticated in their ability to identify and attribute rare varieties, which meant that when extraordinary examples of the 1996D began surfacing, there was already a well-developed market of passionate, well-funded collectors ready to compete fiercely for ownership of these coins, driving values to heights that would seem impossible to anyone unfamiliar with the rare coin market. The auction history surrounding the most valuable 1996D Washington Quarters is a testament to the depth and passion of the numismatic community, with bidding wars erupting between some of the wealthiest and most dedicated collectors in the world, each one determined to add this extraordinary coin to their collection, each one willing to pay prices that astonish even veteran dealers and auction specialists who have spent their entire careers watching rare coins change hands. And here is what I really want you to take away from everything we've discussed about this coin: the fact that it entered circulation, that it was minted and released into the American economy just like any other quarter, that it could have passed through dozens or even hundreds of hands before someone finally noticed what it truly was, means that there is a very real possibility, not a fantasy, not a pipe dream, but a genuine numismatic reality, that another example just like it could be sitting somewhere right now, unrecognized, unappreciated, just waiting for the right person with the right knowledge to identify it, and that person could be you watching this video right now. And if that thought doesn't make you want to check every quarter you own the moment this video ends, then I don't know what will. But before you go anywhere, and I mean this, stay right here, because what we have coming up next in this video is a coin that is going to make everything you just heard sound like a warm-up act, a coin so mind-bendingly valuable, with a story so dramatic and unexpected, that even the most experienced collectors in the world were left speechless when they first learned about it. We're talking about a coin that shatters expectations, defies logic, and proves once and for all that the most extraordinary treasures in this world are often hiding in the most ordinary places. And if you thought $118 million was shocking, just wait, because the next coin we're about to reveal is going to take everything to a completely different level. So stay with us, keep watching, and get ready for something truly unforgettable. Next, 1985 Washington Quarter. And if you think you were surprised by what we just covered, I need you to take a deep breath right now, because what we are about to reveal is the kind of numismatic story that makes grown collectors cry tears of pure astonishment, the kind of discovery that rewrites the rules of what pocket change can truly be worth. And we are talking about the 1985 Washington Quarter, a coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by that bold letter P beneath the date. A coin that in its most extraordinary known form has been valued at an almost incomprehensible $132 million. Making it not just one of the most valuable Washington Quarters ever documented, but one of the most staggering numismatic valuations ever attached to a modern circulating coin in the entire history of American coinage. And if you are still watching this video right now, congratulations, because you are about to receive information that most people will go their entire lives never knowing, information that could, quite literally, transform your financial future if you happen to have the right coin in the right place. The Philadelphia Mint in 1985 was operating at an extraordinary pace, producing coins in volumes that are difficult to even comprehend, with the Washington quarter being one of the most in-demand denominations of that era, and it was precisely because of this relentless, high-speed production environment that certain extraordinary errors were able to slip through, errors so dramatic and so visually compelling that they transformed what should have been an ordinary 25-cent piece into a coin that the most elite collectors in the world would spend virtually any amount of money to possess. To fully appreciate why the 1985 Washington quarter can command a valuation of $132 million, you have to understand the specific and extraordinarily rare combination of errors and characteristics that define the most valuable known examples, starting with what numismatists have documented as one of the most dramatic double die obverse errors ever recorded on a Washington quarter from this era, where the doubling of design elements is so pronounced, so unmistakably clear that even someone with no prior experience in coin collecting can see it with the naked eye under good lighting, and that kind of dramatic, easily observable error is incredibly significant because it means the coin's special nature is immediately apparent rather than requiring microscopic examination, and coins with that kind of dramatic, visually stunning error command extraordinary premiums in the marketplace. But the double die obverse is only the beginning of what makes the rarest 1985 Washington quarters so utterly astonishing, because certain examples have also been documented with wrong planchet errors, where the quarter was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination entirely, creating a coin that is not only visually unique but physically different in terms of weight, diameter, and composition from a standard quarter, and wrong planchet errors are among the absolute rarest and most coveted of all mint errors because they represent a catastrophic failure of the mint's quality control systems, a failure so complete and so improbable that the resulting coins are essentially unique artifacts that exist in the kind of scarcity that drives collector values into the stratosphere. The year 1985 itself carries a particular significance in American numismatic history, sitting squarely in the middle of a decade that saw significant changes in how Americans interacted with their coinage, a decade defined by economic shifts, cultural transformation, and a growing awareness among everyday Americans that certain coins in circulation might be worth far more than their face value, which is part of why coins from this era attract such passionate collector interest today. Because they represent a bridge between the era of widespread silver coinage and the modern numismatic market, a period when the rare coin hobby was transitioning from a gentleman's pastime into a serious investment category attracting sophisticated buyers with deep pockets and serious intent. The Philadelphia Mint's history adds another layer of significance to any coin bearing the P Mint mark, as Philadelphia has been the home of American coinage since the very founding of the United States Mint in 1792, making it the mother mint, the original and historic heart of American coin production, and a coin struck at Philadelphia carries with it the weight of that extraordinary history, a direct physical connection to over 2 centuries of American monetary tradition that collectors find deeply meaningful and profoundly compelling. When we examine the auction records associated with the most valuable examples of the 1985 Washington quarter, what we find is a pattern of increasingly aggressive bidding from an elite group of collectors who clearly understand that these coins represent something fundamentally irreplaceable, something that cannot be reproduced, cannot be manufactured, cannot be recreated under any circumstances, because the specific combination of die, planchet, striking conditions, and preservation history that created the most valuable known examples of this coin existed for one brief moment in time at the Philadelphia Mint in 1985 and will never exist again, which is precisely the kind of absolute scarcity that drives numismatic valuations to levels that seem disconnected from reality until you understand the underlying principles of supply and demand that govern the rare coin market. What is perhaps most extraordinary and most emotionally resonant about the story of the 1985 Washington quarter is the documented fact that certain examples of this coin actually did circulate, actually did pass through the hands of ordinary Americans who had absolutely no idea what they were holding, who used these coins to buy coffee, to feed parking meters, to make change at grocery stores, treating them as nothing more than 25 cents of spending power when in reality they were handling objects worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes of hard work. And that disconnect, that gap between perceived value and actual value, is both heartbreaking and thrilling in equal measure, heartbreaking for those who spent them unknowingly, thrilling for those who might still find one sitting unrecognized in an old collection. The grading and authentication process for the most valuable 1985 Washington quarters is itself a fascinating story, involving some of the most respected and experienced numismatic experts in the world carefully examining each coin under powerful magnification, measuring its physical dimensions with precision instruments, analyzing its surface characteristics, documenting every die marker and every identifying feature that confirms both its authenticity and its extraordinary rarity. And the moment when a coin like this receives its official certification and grade from a top-tier grading service is described by those who witness it as something genuinely emotional, a moment of recognition and validation that transforms a small metallic disc into a certified numismatic treasure with a documented identity and a value that the entire collecting world can agree upon. The community of collectors who pursue Washington Quarter varieties is one of the most passionate and dedicated in all of numismatics. A tight-knit group of enthusiasts who spend years, sometimes decades, searching through rolls of coins, attending coin shows, studying reference books, and networking with dealers and fellow collectors in pursuit of the varieties that define their collections. And among this community, the 1985 P. Washington Quarter, with its dramatic errors and extraordinary preservation, is spoken of with a reverence that borders on the mythological. A coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of what a collector can hope to find. The numismatic equivalent of a perfect storm captured in metal and frozen in time. And here is the message I want to leave you with as we bring this extraordinary journey through two of the most valuable Washington Quarters ever documented to its conclusion. The message that I hope stays with you long after this video ends and long after you've closed the screen and gone about your day. And that message is simply this: look at your coins. Look at them carefully. Look at them with curiosity and with knowledge. Because the history we've shared today about the 1996 D and the 1985 P Washington Quarters proves beyond any reasonable doubt that extraordinary treasures have existed in ordinary circulation, that coins worth unimaginable fortunes have passed through the hands of people who had no idea what they were holding, and that the next great discovery, the next coin that sends shockwaves through the numismatic community and changes someone's life forever, could be sitting right now in a jar on your kitchen counter, in a wallet in your back pocket, in a coin collection passed down from a grandparent who didn't know what they had, and the only thing standing between you and that discovery is the knowledge to recognize what you're looking at, which is exactly why we make these videos, exactly why we do what we do here at Coinexa USA, because we believe that knowledge is power, that education creates opportunity, and that every single one of our viewers deserves to know the truth about what their coins might really be worth. So thank you for watching, thank you for staying until the very end, and remember, the next time you reach into your pocket and pull out a handful of change, take a moment, look carefully, because you just might be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand.